Yo, what's happening everybody, King GBL here, and welcome back to a brand new Go Battle League video. Today I'm going to be showcasing a really strong team here in the Single Type Cup, in what's most likely going to be my final Single Type Cup video. This cup has been here for about 2 weeks. Let me know in the comments down below today's question of the day here. What has been your favourite meta this season? I think at the beginning of the season we had Summer Cup, of course we had Open Great League, we've had Open Ultra League, we've had this cup here for 2 weeks, we've had Master Premier, Ultra League. Let me know what your favourite meta has been this season. And of course, if you do enjoy today's video, hit that like button, it helps very much. And I want to say a big thank you and a huge shout out to everybody who's been subscribing lately. If you're brand new sub to the channel, welcome to the channel. And if you haven't yet done so, hit that subscribe button, it's absolutely free. I'm going to be uploading a ton of videos for the Retro Cup, and of course the Great League Remix, which I'm very excited for. Do of course let me know if you're excited for those as well. But anyway, hopping into the gameplay guys, I have to do a big shout out to Jai in the Discord. We have an amazing Discord community where we share a lot of team ideas. Do practice battles and all that kind of stuff, so feel free to join that as well. But Jai was putting this team in the Discord, and he said that he basically got a veteran with this team. You guys might have seen an upload from me a couple of days ago, where I was showcasing, funny enough, Registeel that we see on screen right now, with Double Dragon in the back, Haxorus and Dragonair. That team was doing extremely well for me in Go Battle Day. I was using it the day before Go Battle Day. I was actually doing some spicy battles for Callum and Toast. Thank you everybody who checked out that video by the way as well. I showcased a triple fairy team, which was not too spicy to be fair, but I didn't really have a ton of stuff built for that cup. I ended up going like 12 out of 30 with that team, because I kept running into poison teams with Mux and double poison backlines, which were pretty impossible to beat. With a triple fairy team, I did manage to beat a Ninetales and Registeel. As a result, I ended up on about 2050 elo. Then came Go Battle Day, and I decided, okay, we're going to run a sweaty team. That's been working really well for me, which of course was that team. I got up all the way to like 2350. I made a huge climb. I was extremely positive. I think at one point I had won maybe like 26 out of 35 games or something like that. I was making a huge climb and doing really well, and suddenly it's just like the game just got flipped on its head. For the final 10 sets in a row of Go Battle Day on Sunday, I managed to like lose every single set, right? I had a 0-5, I had a lot of 1-4s and 2-3s, and I ended up crashing the whole way down to 2050 elo. Now with this team today, I've played 3 sets today. I played 5 sets yesterday and 1 set the day before. Yesterday I had 3 4-1s and 2 3-2s, and today I've had 5-0, 4-1 and a 2-3. So this team has been extremely positive for me, and it's got me back over 2350 elo. So definitely recommend checking this out, and let's hop into the gameplay. So in this game we had an Umbreon. Now pretty much our whole team can beat this. Dragonair can beat it in the 2-shield, Vigoroth of course is a positive match, and even Muck in the 2-shield can Acid Spray farm down the Umbreon. Typically when you see Umbreon, I oftentimes see a lot of poisons in the back. So I come in here, I'm expecting this not to be the Dark Pulse, I'm expecting an Acid Spray or a Thunder Punch. Back in comes Umbreon. We do get to the move in time. I think if we're in a little bit less optimal timing, but of course I do want to get the move off immediately and look to try and get the farm down. We do get the full farm down, and sometimes when you see an Umbreon lead, you will see double poison in the back, which can be quite awkward to deal with this team. On this occasion it is a Ninetales, and the opponent's in such a bad position. We're going to look to fire off Aqua Tail number 1. Can we get off another Aqua Tail? We are up a shield, and the opponent has just farmed us down. Now all I need to do is hopefully get to a Dark Pulse, and I should be able to take this match. The opponent fires off their first move, and I do not think they're going to get to a second one, and because this is a Shadow, and we're doing so much damage here with these poison jabs, and this Dark Pulse will take it out, I just got rid of that thing immediately because they have a low health Muck in the back. Can we farm it down in time? We just about do. The opponent dumped off a Dark Pulse and an Acid Spray before they left, so they were just completely dry on energy, and at that point we were able to of course just farm it down before they farmed us down. Even if they got off an Acid Spray, I don't think it would have quite taken us out. Actually, maybe it would have, who knows, but very good games and well played. I've seen a ton of Umbreon leads today, and I think we'll probably see it in this next coming matchup. Generally with Umbreon, and pretty much any lead that's somewhat positive for Dragonair, I've kind of decided just to RPS people. This cup is a very RPS meta, where it's very alignment based, and taking switch and winning lead is quite important. So even if I have to go down 2 shields on the lead, I more often than not do it, because I think on this team Dragonair is the one that needs the shields the most anyway. So like investing 2 shields in the lead to take switch and potentially chip whatever comes in is absolutely fine by me. You can play it differently if you want to, and I did play it differently where I caught moves on Vigoroth and messed around that way. The opponent full sends the Earthquake, only going to be able to get off 1 move. If the opponent's going to switch out, they probably should have Frenzy planned and switch out, because they probably could have got off another Frenzy plant later on in the match. I guess they were full sending the nuke, hoping that I would let a Frenzy plant go, but of course I'm happy enough to shield that up. Now with Cofagrigus versus Vigoroth, this is a very close match in the zeros. They do outpace to the Dark Pulse. We CMP them on the second one here. If the Cofagrigus has got a really good defense stat, like a top 10 ranked IV Cofagrigus, they can win that match in the zeros. Otherwise Vigoroth can win. Or if you've got like a slightly more attack weighted one, I believe that can just put in the extra damage for you. Now the opponent shields up their Machamp. I've got 2 very good options for this. I think I come into Muck here to basically force them to throw like a harder hitting move. I'm going to respect this move because I feel like it's going to hurt an absolute ton. The opponent is a master of the baiting, and we end up CMPing here, which is quite unfortunate, and we're going to have to eat here a rock slide. I probably should have just committed to the farm down at that point, because, you know, it's only going to take a few more jabs, and you're going to see me make that mistake a few times. The opponent shields it up, back in comes the low health Meganium. They do not get off another move. I think if the Meganium had thrown off the Frenzy earlier, they might have got off another move. It would have been very, very tight anyway. And so far we're 3-0. A few little misplays and a few mistakes, a few inaccuracies I would say, in those first couple of games, but we're definitely doing very well so far. And in comes Dragonair versus Ninetales. An amazing lead. And like I said, I didn't get a single charm lead, fortunately. Of course, that will be coming at some point. We're going to look to CMP the opponent. Of course, Dragonair does win CMP, which you love to see. The opponent should be shielding this up if they want to keep any sort of health on this thing. I don't think that Aqua Tail quite one-shots from there, but it would come very, very close. The opponent is staying in here, which is a little bit suspicious. Now, I was actually tempted to throw the Body Slam here, because I sort of was anticipating the catch, but because the opponent CMP'd me the first time, I decided I'm just going to throw the Aqua Tail. Now that we've got this chip down, we can look to CMP on the Body Slam. The opponent did not sneak a move, because of the way they swapped out. They swapped out in awkward timing here. And yep, we're going to look to go ahead and shield this up. And I think at this point I may be able to commit to the farm down. Let's see, let's have a look. Can we actually commit to this? Now, do I let this go? I think I might decide to farm this down, and I think I can survive this. I do survive it, and we do counter them down. That one counter went through, and back in comes a Dragonair of their own. So they're running like a fairly similar team, except for they're using Ninetales, which I believe is a team that was showcased by Yasser. We're going to come in with Muk here, and basically look to try and catch a move on Dragonair. The opponent does throw the move, because, you know, even though we're on low health, this will get them down to like 1 HP or something, so they sort of have to throw. The opponent really should commit to the farm down, because that's like their only semi-win condition, but this Ninetales has got like 1 HP, so I don't even bubble this, and that's going to be a good game. So yeah, we're looking very, very good here. Again, you know, this cup is a little bit RPS for me. Sometimes you see an Umbreon lead, or some sort of lead that's pretty positive for Dragonair, and I prefer just to, like I said, go down shields, because if you get your Pokemon lined up badly in the back, sometimes you'll see like an Umbreon lead with a Gramble in the back, which of course you want to get on your Muk. Yep, in comes Ninetales, a really good lead, and in comes their own Dragonair. Now, I'm going to slightly outpace here, so I decide to fire off the Body Slam immediately. Now, I may decide here, this could be a mistake. Okay, so the opponent lets it go. Maybe I should have come into Vigoroth on that, because of course we have a really positive matchup on the other end with Ninetales. The Ninetales comes back in, and we're locking them in here, and we're going to outpace. Because the opponent's on Ember, we're going to heavily outpace these Body Slams, so that's my thinking behind this. This should be absolutely fine anyway. The opponent's building all the way up to the Overheat. We do end up going for the CMP here, and at this point, you know, if they fire 2 Weather Balls, you know, I'm going to have to shield one of them anyway, or if they fire an Overheat, of course I would want to shield that, so I'm happy enough to shield up once here anyway. The opponent goes for the Weather Ball, and they actually swap into Haxorus. Can we get to the move in time? We do, but the opponent is forced to CMP us, and at this point we're looking to be in a really good position. They can go for Breaking Swipe. All you have to do here is come in with Muk. I'm going to look to fire off the Acid Spray, which, you know, even a Thunder Punch from this range would be deadly, so an Acid Spray is perfectly fine. I'm actually not even going to throw it off. I'm just going to swap straight out and farm them down. That's the amazing thing about keeping Dragonair with a little bit of health, because we're ripping through the Ninetales as well. Again, I make another inaccuracy here. I'm letting them get off more moves. This is like a mistake I've been making, and it's a mistake I always make whenever I'm using a debuff Pokemon. At certain points, guys, you just have to commit to the farm down, and you're seeing that I got super, super lucky. The opponent got off the Overheat. I managed to survive at 1 HP, and you're seeing me making these little mistakes, which of course is holding the gameplay back somewhat. Now, I am playing these battles at like 5:30 AM, so that's my excuse, I guess, but like, I don't think there's any excuse for that. I think you should just be playing a little bit smarter. But in comes Umbreon. Again, I'm just going to RPS this if I can. I played this differently on different times, because sometimes they have double poison in the back, and I feel like Dragonair is quite good for farming down the poison types. And on this occasion, I think I do decide to commit to the 2 shield, and like to basically shield twice and farm down. Actually, on this occasion, because they let all of those moves go, I do come in with Vigoroth and try to sort of maintain some sort of health on that thing. The opponent comes in with a Gramble, and this is absolutely perfect for me. We've got a Muk in the back. We're not going to see this on Dragonair, and because the opponent swapped out, they're going to farm us down, and they're going to be locked in. We actually almost get off the second Body Slam, which is quite annoying. There's a new mechanic that you're supposed to get off that move before you get taken out, but of course, that doesn't really work most of the time. The opponent fires off the Crunch here, which we will respect, and we're going to farm it the whole way down. Now at this point, they have a low health Pokemon, and they've got one more Pokemon in the back, and we can look to permanently debuff this Pokemon pretty much. At this point, in comes Vigoroth, and I'm going to farm up to over the Dark Pulse, so the opponent knows that it could be a Dark Pulse for sure. They do let it go, and at this point, I think I just decide to fire off the second move immediately. Because they let that first one go, I'm just going to go for this one straight away. Now what I may look to do here is, because the opponent will probably look to go for Bulldoze, I'll probably just let this go, of course, and come in and look to go for farm down with Dragonair. Boom, Bulldoze coming through, and these Dragon Breaths are going to absolutely tear through this thing with the quadruple debuff, and of course the Umbreon's not going to get to another move. I was tempted to swap out, but I realised the opponent has to go for a hard-hitting move, and if they do go for Body Slam, at that point I can look to swap out and survive a Body Slam and Dragonair. Now in comes Umbreon. I always try to throw in good timing in this thing. Now you get to your first Body Slam in 12 turns, and they get to their Foul Play in 12 turns. So if you're lucky, you can CMP them, but if you're not lucky, the opponent gets a full Snarl for free. So I always try to keep that in mind when I'm going for that. Sometimes you do go for the CMP when the opponent's desperate to get off their move, but in the very beginning of that matchup, you don't really go for that straight away. Now, I farm up here to the Bulldoze. I'm going to call a move here. I'm calling an Acid Spray, and if it's a Thunder Punch, of course, yep, boom, that's not going to do too much. Now, I realize that these do about 50% to Muk, so I don't have to full send the Bulldoze. I can get a huge chip on this thing and get this thing below half health. If you have a look here, like this Body Slam, it's going to get them very, very low. Look at that. So they're in the deep yellow now. Well, they're just about in the yellow. And at this point, I decide to come in with Muk. And I think that they're always going to throw Dark Pulse here. They're most likely getting to one move. So I respect the Dark Pulse, and I look to basically fire off a Dark Pulse of my own, maintain a ton of health on the Muk. Of course, it's always tempting to hop into Dragonair when the opponent's got no energy and look to go for the farm down, but I'm just playing it a little bit safe here, and they do have a Grimer in the back. Now, I'm pretty sure I can't win this match. I decided to go for the Acid Spray because I do want to get a debuff and look to rip through them with Dragon Breaths. This thing is an amazing Pokemon, you're going to see, and the opponent's playing this really, really well. They're going for a huge overfarm, which is preventing me from swapping out because they'll outpace me to the move, right? They don't one-shot me, but like, I can't let them farm me down, and I'm going to have to eat a Mud Bomb on this thing anyway. This sort of team composition is a little bit difficult. They come back into Umbreon here, I go for an overfarm. I fire off the move here, and the opponent may shield this because they, of course, will take a lot of damage from Dragonair on Grimer. And they've no need to really let this go, they can just finish this out with Umbreon. My only hope here to win this match is to get a farm down with Muk, but unfortunately my health is just a little bit too low, and you're seeing one of the teams that is a little bit of a problem team for this one. Of course, they resist your counter, they resist your poison jabs, the Grimer is very good against Muk. The Grimer and the Muk, you know, are very oppressive with the poison jab damage, and especially if they're running Acid Spray, they can rip through your Dragonair, so that's just a very tough team to deal with. Again, we've got an Umbreon lead. I'm happy enough to try and RPS this team, and hope that it's not double poison in the back. Double poison is definitely the most awkward thing you can deal with. Now, I decided to fire this move straight off on CMP, because I think the opponent will throw their second move immediately, because they are getting into a low health range, and they do want to get off this damage as quickly as possible. Last Resort coming through, so this is definitely going to be their final move. That's why they threw the Last Resort, which does more raw damage. Now in comes a Granbull, and I'm super happy to see this right here. The opponent's going to be forced to swap out. They do swap out, and it's a Serperior. What I decided to do here is go for a debuff in this thing, just to make sure that the match is very comfortable for Vigoroth, make these counters do more damage, and we're going to look to just basically spam off Body Slams in this thing. The opponent does shield that up, which is quite interesting. I'm going to call a move here. It is the Leaf Tornado. The opponent does get the debuff. I can't remember if is it 50% for this move. The opponent does get that huge debuff, and that Body Slam, even though the opponent's double debuff, is only doing like normal damage now at this point. They go for Frenzy Plant. I know I can survive it. This thing is not as hard hitting as something like a Venusaur, and we're going to fire off another move. The opponent's in just such a rough spot here. I'm on 1 HP, so the opponent's not going to get a ton of farm on Granbull, and I decide to go for a funny play here. We're going to commit to the entire farm down, and look at this, right? The opponent fires off a move, and I know that they're on 1 HP, so I want the opponent to shield, because I want to get a 1 HP shield knockout. I realized, like, while I was halfway through farming this down, like, yo, I might get this to exactly 1 HP. The opponent just lets it go, unfortunately. I wanted to see the 1 HP knockout, but that's a thing that you can keep an eye out for. Let's say, for example, in that position, the opponent has a shield, and you've got no shields, and the opponent's getting to back-to-back moves, right, which is going to take you out. What you can look to do is get them to 1 HP, and CMP them on the move, and that'll give you a 1 HP knockout for the shield. It is such a rare win condition, but it is just something that you should be aware of, and it is something that can potentially win you matches. Now with this Vigoroth lead right here, what I decided to do is shield twice and farm down, right? You throw 1 Body Slam, and you farm it the whole way down. As you can see, we're coming out with energy, and we've got switch advantage. Now in comes Umbreon, and I'm thinking, okay, this is good. We don't have a Charmer in the back here, so our Vigoroth is looking to have a very good alignment. We're getting this thing into like 50% health, and even though this thing is up a shield, we've got the thing half health, right? So this is still a very positive matchup for Vigoroth. The opponents are staying in here for a minute. They're going to look to fire off a move or two. And I'm really wondering, what does the opponent have in the back here that they're coming into Umbreon? They don't have a Charmer, which is kind of what I was expecting to see. And the opponent's going to dump off all their energy here. Now in comes a Poison type. It is Grimer, which again is such an awkward Pokemon for me to deal with. What I need to do is get energy here in 2 places. I might look to catch the move on Muk, which, you know, this is just not great. Grimer is such a core breaker for my team. They're going to look to outpace me and get to another move. And unfortunately, guys, this match is just over. There was really just nothing I could do there. As soon as I see the Grimer in the back with no shields, this thing sweeps my entire team, unfortunately. I wasn't getting to the move, so it's just a GG anyway. Grimer is definitely a core breaker. Like, if you play this team the way I play it, where you try to RPS the lead and, you know, go down shields with Dragonair, you're a little bit vulnerable to this kind of position, and it's something to watch out for. Now, on this occasion, we see a poison in the front, so I know that I'm not going to see it in the back. Now, surprisingly, this thing wins CMP over Dragonair. Once again, like, they're going to debuff me, right, but I'm happy enough to take switch advantage, just in case they have a Charmer in the back. Now, usually if they have a poison in the front, they're weak to, like, Charm, and they may have, like, some fighters in the back and stuff like that. Yeah, so they've got an Umbreon in the back. So I should be able to make a call here, like, from watching this right here. I go for the CMP as well, because I know that they're going to try and get rid of me as quickly as possible. Whenever they have a poison type in the lead, they tend to be double weak to Charm in the back. So if you think about what's weak to Charm, it has to be Machamp, right? Or some sort of fighter. In comes the fighter, I swap out pretty slowly, because of course I got through a counter or two, but this is a really good position to be in. We've got the Mach, which of course resists all of the counters, and I think the worst thing they can really throw at me here would be a close combat, because it would probably do the most raw damage, but of course Ice Punch, if they go for back-to-back Ice Punches, it may look to take me out. Either way, I'm happy enough to shield up once here. They go for a Night Slash, they will get off another one. I thought they may go for a close combat for the most raw damage, but of course they're just trying to get a chip on this thing. Night Slash does not do too much, and even if it was boosted, it wouldn't have taken me out anyway. At this point, we go for an Acid Spray, and that's going to look to debuff the Umbreon, and leave us in an amazing position where Vigoroth can just look to farm it down. The opponent sees the writing on the wall, they smash the phone off the wall, and they hop into the next one, and so do I. And, you know, so far so good with this team. You're seeing I'm making a few inaccuracies and a few maybe blunders here and there, but overall this is a pretty consistent and a good team to use. So hopping into the next one here, let's see what we've got. We've got another Umbreon lead. How do I decide to play it this time? We're going to look to probably RPS them by the looks of things, which is never a bad thing in my opinion. We're going to shield up the first one here. Foul Play coming through, and we're going to look to throw in good timing. Again, Snarl is a free turn move. They get to the Foul Plays in 4 Snarls, 3, and then 4, and then 3, and then 4. And if you're looking to throw in good timing, you throw 2 Dragon Breaths in between their Snarl. So after the opponent throws their move, throw 2 Dragon Breaths and throw a Body Slam for optimal timing, just so the opponent does not get too far ahead in energy. Now I realise here that the opponent's staying in here, which is a little bit suspicious to say the least. Why would they shield Umbreon? I'm happy enough to use my final shield and look to see what's in the back here. I'm expecting, yeah, so it's a Mach that comes in, not really what I was anticipating, but they may have something that is weak to fighting in the back. So I could be in a bad position here. They go for Thunder Punch. I'm going to full send the Bulldoze, because I think in this situation, I'm only going to be able to get off one move. Look at my health here. One more Poison Jab will take us out, but they actually let that go. And in comes Dragonair. And I'm thinking, guys, listen, if they're weak to that, they may have something that's weak to Dragonair. Dragonair does very well against the fighters, and we're just super far ahead in energy. It is a Grimer. It's not what I was expecting to see. Why are they shielding up the Umbreon versus that? It doesn't really make sense to me. We Body Slam them, which absolutely tears through the Grimer, and at this point the Umbreon's in super low health, and there's not really a whole lot they could do. Sometimes you have to make a call based on what your opponent does. In that situation, I made the call that they were weak to Vigoroth because they shielded up Umbreon, but both of their back Pokemon are quite good against that, so sometimes opponents just make moves that don't make sense, and trying to read your opponent can often backfire on you, which I could have easily done there, but I of course managed to take it. The opponent wins CMP, which is kind of annoying. And yeah, they're going to fire for Body Slam. I could have went for the Simul KO and shields or whatever, but I decide to get the farm down. Now, I think this was a mistake. I think I should have came in for a farm down with Vigoroth. The reason is, you know, whenever you see that sort of a lead, oftentimes you will have a Vigoroth in the back, and maybe even another fighter. So I probably should have went for that farm down instead. I decided to go for it with Mach. The opponent goes for the Body Slam here, and I'm going to look to fire off another Acid Spray, just to basically commit to a farm down on this thing, and look to hopefully permanently debuff whatever comes in. Now the opponent here, they're going to get off one more move. I'm going to use my last shield here, just so I have 2 options for whatever Pokemon's in the back. Bulldoze coming through, and we're going to look to instantly swap out. In comes Ninetales, and we're going to look to go for Body Slam, which will of course outpace here quite heavily. The opponent's an Ember, and boom, Body Slam coming through. They just let that go, knowing that we've got some energy in Mach, and yeah, they're in a very bad position here. Water Ball coming through. We're going to look to basically go for 6 and then go for a move. This is an inaccuracy, there's no point in this. The opponent will let it go here, but in this situation, you just commit to the farm down. You know, even though like they were going to CMP me, and that's what I thought they were going to do, there's no point. You just farm it down. Like, they've got a shield, and they're on 1 elf. Just farm it down. I would like to think that if it was a situation where I really needed to commit to the farm down, that I would just commit to the farm down. But earlier on, you've seen that I didn't necessarily do that. So it's just a little bit of a stupid thing that I like to do, I guess. But in comes Double. Now at this point, we farm off a little bit of extra energy on the Dragonair, and we're going to eat 1 Body Slam on this Vigoroth. I'm thinking that the opponent will probably let this go, And we're going to look to overfarm by 4 here. They get to the body slams in 3 double kicks each time, and we're going to look to fire off a body slam on this. Now, if the opponent shields us up, we're going to get a nice farm down, which would not be very recommended for the opponent. The opponent does shield it up. At that point, if the opponent's going to get a big farm down on you, you probably just don't shield it. Because look at this, we're on 7 counters, so we're almost, we're 3 away from back to back, right? So at this point, I can look to either fire off a bulldoze, or go for the safer play of 2 body slams. What will the opponent decide to do? They let it go, which is quite surprising, and I'm going to look to fire off body slam number 2. The opponent will likely have to shield this, and we're looking to be in an amazing position, but they don't shield it. We're going to farm it the whole way down with Dragonair, and back in comes an Umbreon. We're in an amazing position here. We're going to look to try and get off back-to-back body slams. I'm probably going to fire this immediately, but I can live a foul play, so I do actually fire it on good timing, which is 2 Dragon Breaths. The opponent is down to almost 50% health here, so they will have to shield this up here. Now, at this point, as I said to you earlier, unless they have Psychic, Muck can just basically shield through this. The opponent goes for the last resort, I think looking to get a farm down, fire off the most raw damage and get a farm down. It doesn't quite work out for them. Of course, foul play is a lot more energy efficient. The opponent does get a farm down, and because they're not top lefting, I decide, you know what, I'm just going to catch the move in Vigoroth, just for the fun of it. Absolutely unnecessary and uncalled for, but I think the opponent probably could have top lefted, to be fair. Good games, they finally top left when they're on 1 HP, and that's a good game. So guys, this team worked out super well for me. Again, you're going to see me make some mistakes and misplays. It's just, I need to iron out a few things with my gameplay personally. I think definitely I've regressed a little bit this season, in terms of my consistency in just sort of optimal gameplay. The opponent comes in with a Hypno, and we're going to look to fire off a body slam, get a chip on it, and look to go into Vigoroth. I think that's just something I need to work on. I think since hitting Legend last season, last season for me was not supposed to be my Legend push season. It was kind of by surprise or by chance that I kind of done really well in the Element Cup and done really well in the Catch Cup. And I thought, you know what, like I'm here now, so I might as well try and get it. But last season was supposed to be a season for me to kind of improve my gameplay and build a few Pokemon that I need, like a rank 1 Medi, which I've just built recently, and a few other things. I think since hitting Legend, my motivation has been a little bit lower, to be completely honest with you. And, I think I'm just making a lot of misplays, and I think in general this last 3 weeks have been just super, super rough for me, in terms of the cups being super RPS. We've had Element Cup for a week, we've had 2 weeks of this cup here, and just generally I think my overall gameplay suffered a little bit, so it's just something I need to, regain a little bit of consistency with. Now, we look to be in a pretty bad position here. The opponent is just overfarming like crazy, and they're on Fire Spin, which is a lot worse for us because they get energy a lot quicker, and they're going to look to fire off an Overheat. The opponent actually can store an Overheat and a Weather Ball, which I wasn't sure if they could, but of course they do, and even with the harsh attack drop, 1 Weather Ball will take us out. Definitely could have played that one a little bit better. Of course they, did not want my Dragonair on their Ninetales in the back. We still go for 1, and we're pushing up over 2300 again. We get ourselves a nice little Heatran, and we're sort of back in. We're not going to use the Master, but don't use the Master Ball. Anyway, everybody, thank you very much for watching. Once again, thank you for all the support in the videos. It's very much appreciated. We're up to 2310, and we're of course going to look to make a further push. To be honest with you, I stopped playing after this, and just decided, I'm happy. I'm just going to leave this be. I opened up my next set, and then basically just exited the battle, so... anyway guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Hit the like button for me, subscribe, and have a fantastic rest of your day.